Here's the honest truth. Success is not about the age or stage of your equine business. It's about knowing where you want to go and using that vision of success as your filter for every decision along the way. Because when you have a clear vision and a system for measuring your personal version of success, then you can make confident, strategic decisions for your equine business. And that's what we do inside of Take the Reins, my one-on-one coaching program. It's a personalized one-on-one business coaching program for equestrian entrepreneurs ready to ditch the marketing overwhelm, overcome the roadblocks holding you back, and grow an equine business that meets your version of success. Friends, you know this about me. I am not here to promise you millions of followers or viral moments because that's for influencers. But if you want to connect with the right people and build a business that works for you, then I'm your coach. I have 8 slots available right now, and once they fill, I will not be opening slots again until 2026. So I invite you to head to stormlily.com/reins, get all the information, apply today, and let's work together to build your dream equine business. Hello there, and welcome to the How to Market Your Horse Business podcast. I'm so glad you're joining me here today. As you've likely guessed by now, my name is Denise Alvarez, and I am your host here on the podcast. And before we dive into the distractions that are getting in the way of your equine business growth, I'm going to quickly introduce myself just in case we are new friends, and then we will jump right in. All right. As I said, my name is Denise, and through my business, Storm Lily Marketing, I get to help dream-chasing horse business owners to ditch the marketing overwhelm and get the clarity they've been craving so they can grow their business in a way that meets their definition of success. Now, I do this primarily through business coaching and then education, such as this podcast, and I have some online learning resources for you as well. All that I do, friends, is so that you as an equestrian entrepreneur can be out in the barn or the arena, behind the camera lens, maybe even behind the camera or your phone. However it is you're serving the equine industry, I'm here to help you do more of that. And so specifically here on this podcast, you can expect a mix of step-by-step strategies, essential how-tos, and entrepreneurial mindset shifts that will help you not only see what's possible for your business, but I'm also here to guide you through that process so you can make it happen. And today we are doing that by way of distractions. We're going to identify some of the common distractions that I'm seeing and that I've experienced myself in this business growing journey that we are all in. Now, of course, if you're new to the podcast, you may not know this, but while I'm going to help you identify distractions, my goal is always to help give you practical help that you can immediately apply. And so you're going to hear about distractions, and then you're going to hear about some ways that you can get free from them so that you can spend your time and your energy and your effort doing what you love and growing the business that you love. Because you guys, distractions, my goodness, they are not just taking your eyes off the prize. They're not just a little bit of time spent doing something else, right? I'm not just talking today about working on your inbox, okay? So this is practical, but this is not base level, okay? This is not just time, productivity, and distractions. We're talking about the real things that are distracting you and keeping you from getting where you want to go in your business. Now, I will say that yes, it's true. Some people are growing a business even if they have some of these distractions happening. You can probably look online and find people that you could say, well, they seem to be doing pretty well, but they seem to be dealing with or coming from a place of what you're talking about. And that's true. But my question to you would be, are they really aligned to the business they're trying to build and what's true for them? And could they actually grow faster and in a more enjoyable way if they addressed these distractions? Think of it like driving a car. Now, I know we are talking to horse people, so yes, we could talk about the horse side of things, but the immediate illustration that came to mind for me was driving a car. Because I know many of us oftentimes we sometimes are a little bit distracted when we're driving, and we still get from point A to point B if they're just like minor distractions, right? It's not the goal, but it's the reality. But here's the thing. Once you get to a higher level, when you're a race car driver and you're distracted, the stakes are higher. And you really have to be focused and not distracted in order to get to the finish line faster than everybody else. Or I don't want to say everybody else. Let's not say that. I don't want to impress comparison. That's not the goal. But the goal in that scenario, okay, race car drivers, the goal is to win, okay? And for them, success is crossing the finish line first, okay? So in that analogy, it does matter who's first. But the point is, if that race car driver is distracted by everything else, then it means they're letting other things hold them back and pull them down and weigh them down from doing what they set out to do. And that's what I want to help you eliminate today. Because I don't want you wasting time and energy and effort on things that are actually weighing you down and keeping you from bringing the vision that you have for your equine business to life. Instead, I want you to be free to grow in a way that fits your version of success, to not feel boxed in by what everyone else is doing or the expectations you may have on yourself, to get to that, to experience that success, and to enjoy the journey and the process of growing as you do. So friends, my question to you, what is distracting you and keeping you from growing the way you want to grow? So that's what we're going to dive into. I want to encourage you to come with an open mind and heart, and do not be offended when I name these, okay? Sometimes our immediate response can be self-defense, okay? And I'm going to encourage you to not get defensive, but to just hear it and consider it and be in a teachable place, because that's how we truly grow, if you're in that teachable place, all right? So I'm going to encourage you to do that. We're going to talk about the distractions, and then you will get some specific things that you can do to help get rid of these distractions. All right? Okay, now, of course, I will have these outlined for you on the show notes of today's episode. So if you go to stormlily.com/185 for episode 185, then you can get to the show notes where I'm highlighting what you're about to hear. So if you need to listen as you work, listen as you muck, listen as you drive, whatever the case may be, you can always go to the show notes and get this information. Okay? All right, let's dive in. Distraction number one that I often see is holding you back, getting in your way, is imposter syndrome. Now, this can look different for different people, but it's literally this idea of feeling like an imposter. You're most likely very good at what it is that you do. That's why you've been able to turn it into a business. But then we have thoughts, right? What do I actually know? What do people want to learn from me for? Can I really do this? Can I really accomplish this big dream that I have for the business? Why would anyone actually listen to me? Now, I will tell you, most often, imposter syndrome shows up when we start to do something outside of our comfort zone. When you begin to push yourself, your business, your skills into a new zone, or you start making a shift in your business. Maybe you've been doing one-on-one work and people are asking you for clinics. And so you start to think, oh my goodness, could I really do a clinic? Do people really want to learn from me? All of those questions start to come up, and they are oftentimes geared to this idea of imposter syndrome, feeling like you're an imposter. And when this happens, it's holding you back. It keeps you from showing up as you, right? It builds self-doubt. Potentially, you start to hide. Now, I don't mean literally physically hiding, but rather than going to that show or expo or hosting the clinic or starting the podcast or going on Instagram or YouTube or Facebook Live, whatever these places that you think you should go, and you don't do that because you hide, which actually decreases visibility, which is what you need in that season and in that time when you're making a shift. It also minimizes how often you will sell your offer, how often you will share about what you're doing, because you've got that imposter syndrome hanging out, telling you shouldn't be selling it, you shouldn't be offering it. And ultimately, it takes you further away from the why behind what you're doing in the first place. because it turns the focus to you. And as a business owner, one of the reasons you've been doing so well in your business is because your focus has been on serving. And imposter syndrome turns that right back around and makes you focus on yourself. So the first distraction I want you to consider that may be getting in your way is imposter syndrome. Now, the second one is shiny objects. Now, what does this mean? You've probably heard this idea before. And sometimes it's also called like shiny object syndrome, right? But I didn't want to put two syndromes back to back. But essentially, what that means is you're chasing the next shiny thing that shows up in front of you, and that becomes a distraction. So it can look different for different business owners, of course, in different seasons. When it comes to your marketing, it may be that idea of trying to be on every social media platform because you started in one place and then you heard a podcast of someone who had a lot of success in another platform. So then you thought, well, that must be the thing. And then you heard someone else say, well, when I succeeded with my thing and I started making a lot of money, it was because I did this. And so then you chase after that. And you're just chasing, right? And so you change platforms and you increase the expectations. Or maybe it is in terms of offerings, especially since 2020, since COVID, online offerings, digital offerings have become more and more common. But there are different ways to do it, different things that you can offer. And yet when we hear someone's story and we hear that they've had success with, for example, going live every month and having a membership, or maybe someone else has had success by having a private Facebook group and holding everything right there, or maybe someone else has had success with in-person retreats and a blend of online. Like there's so many different offerings available. And what happens is, again, shiny object syndrome is you're chasing whatever someone else has said worked for them without any regard for your business, your capacity, your personal why. This can even happen when you think about locations of where you should be training or what you want your barn to look like, or the cameras and the equipment that you may use, or the tack that you use, or that you're crafting and the tools that you need to have. There's so many ways that shiny object syndrome can come into play. And the heart behind it all really becomes fear of missing out, FOMO. Like, oh, if I don't try that, then I'm missing out on what could have been. And that's the reason I wouldn't have been successful, right? For example, when you think about content, again, should you have a podcast? Should you be on YouTube? Is one better than the other? Or do you need to do both? Or you have TikTok as a content creation platform, or should you be on Pinterest? Again, so many options. And the reality is, and when I coach clients in this in my Take the Reins program, and we talk about the different options you have, there is not one right answer. But chasing after the shiny objects keeps you from seeing that and makes you think that you need to keep moving to the next hot or right thing. But if you can stay focused instead, the alternative of chasing these things is focus. All right. So let me give you an example. I have a friend, not in the equine industry actually, who exploded on TikTok last year, and she made a good amount of money. She is one of those success stories that you will probably hear online. But you know what she wasn't doing? Can I just remind you? She wasn't doing Facebook. She was not spending time on Instagram. She was not spending time on Pinterest or YouTube. What was she doing? A lot of one thing, a lot of TikTok. She was recording and publishing upwards of 80 videos a week to experience the success that she had. She focused her efforts 110% on one area and she blocked out everything else. But if she had tried creating content for every platform, if she had started on TikTok and then someone else had said, oh, this has really been working for me on Instagram, you should go there. And so then she was doing two. And then someone else on Instagram said, oh, you know, what's really been working for me is Pinterest. And then she went there. Like her efforts would be so divided and her results would have been extremely watered down. Shiny objects will steal your energy and your focus, and they will absolutely water down your efforts and keep you from seeing results. And this is a distraction that I see over and over again. Now, of course, Should we or could we be open to new ideas? Absolutely. But just remember that idea of the filter that we've talked about, right? And having some discernment about that and not chasing after every shiny object just because it's working for someone else. All right, third distraction. The third distraction that I see is actually a sneaky one. And I'm labeling it victim mentality, but I originally had called it resentment, but I think really it's just the mindset around it is actually a little bit different. And here's how I want to explain it to you, okay? The other day, I was watching a podcast on YouTube and somebody in the room asked me, "Does it bother you that she basically has what you want and it was basically handed it to her because of who her family is?" Okay, I hope you can hear the mentality behind that question. Now, and I don't want you to guess who this person is because honestly, it's not even someone in the equine industry. Okay, and it's not relevant. So don't spend your energy there. But I'll tell you what my answer was, and then I want to break down why I think that the mentality behind that question is a distraction that can keep us captive and get in the way of our growth. Okay. Number one, my answer was threefold. Okay. Number one, I'm not after what she has or what she's doing. Like, of course, let me say this. My answer is no, it does not bother me, but here's why. Okay. Number one, I'm not after those things. My business model is not her business model, and I'm not trying to make it like her. I felt like it was a false assumption that just because I podcast, I would want to do it the way that she does. My dream is not her dream. My goals and my calling are not hers either. They're so separate. And secondly, why would I waste my energy being bothered, being resentful, being frustrated by her success? Wouldn't it be a better use of my energy, my mental capacity, to focus on doing well what I've been called to do, what my dream is for my equine business and the clients that I want to serve, and focusing on that? And third, instead of being bothered or resentful, I actually applaud her. I'm not just saying that. Like, I'm saying if I'm resentful and frustrated, I'm actually discounting what she's done and the work she's put in. And it is clear that she has put in work to do what she's doing, right? Even she had a quote unquote step up or an advantage. Even if that's the case, that doesn't mean she could just sit back and do nothing, right? But again, the heart behind that question, doesn't it bother you if what she's doing is successful and yours isn't, was the assumption, right? I think I'm very grateful for what I get to do and getting to work with the clients that I get to. It is successful to me. But the level, right, the measure of what she's doing, it's not the same. She's got like thousands upon thousands of listeners and viewers and all those things, right? But the heart behind the question is what I want to focus on. Because how often, as an equestrian entrepreneur, have you been frustrated at what someone else has because you don't have it, right? It's like they can't be two separate things. What someone else has is frustrating because you don't have it. And maybe you've even felt resentment. And I'm not saying you're a horrible person if you have. I'm just saying it can be a distraction. If you've resented someone because they've had it so easy, it's distracting you from focusing on what you want in your business. Or maybe you've felt like and thought it's unfair because you've had to work twice as hard. And then what may happen is that becomes an excuse to not go after what you really want because everyone else seems to have the upper hand. Now, I will say, I find it unlikely that many of you listening are struggling with that exact thought because you wouldn't be listening and learning and growing if you were. Okay. But I would not be surprised if that's something you've experienced in the past or different flavors of it have come into play, right? And so what I want to caution us on is that idea, that mentality that says, the reason I'm calling it victim mentality, and I know that can be like, we're kind of weary of some of the words around victim right now. But what happens is I'm a victim. Their success makes me a victim. And what happens with victim is the power is removed. Right. And that is the distraction, I guess. Maybe I should change that a bit to powerless mentality, right? You feel like your power has been taken away because of their success, but it hasn't. Someone could have potentially had an advantage compared to you. Absolutely. That's reality, right? But that doesn't undo what you have the opportunity to do in your equine business. And your journey is 100% yours. So don't discount it, don't dishonor it, and reject the option of dishonoring someone else's journey and thinking that because they're experiencing some sort of success that you want, that you can't. Because that, my friends, is absolutely a distraction from chasing after what it is that you want. All right, we have two more, okay? The next distraction I want to uncover for you is the idea of discontentment. Here's what that looks like. Maybe if I do, or when I do XYZ, then I can enjoy and be successful, right? The idea here is not that it's wrong to dream big, because if you guys know me, you know I'm a fan of I want you to think big, dream big. And it doesn't matter what stage of business you're in. You may have been in business 10 years. Don't stop dreaming, right? Don't stop thinking about the opportunities and evolving over time. At the same time, don't dream so big in a way that you tell yourself you'll never be satisfied until. Because that robs the joy and the energy from today. You've heard me talk briefly about this idea of the gap and the gain on the podcast before. It's a book I highly would recommend. I'm still soaking it in. I read it this summer. And it is a similar idea of absolutely let's have these goals, but then let's be grateful for how far we've come, right? We don't want the big dreams and the aspirations to become the one thing, the only thing that can bring us happiness, because that's actually not true. That's a lie. And it also makes us miss out on what's happening today. Okay. So what I want you to focus on, actually, this is not a goals talk. This is a gratitude encouragement. Okay. Actually, the way we become more content and less discontent is to find things to be grateful for now. Okay. So yes, keep those big dreams and then find things to be grateful for now, so that a heart of discontentment is not distracting you from going after what you want, but instead it fuels you. All right, the final distraction I want us to talk about before we explore the antidotes to being distracted is unmet expectations. For example, how many of you in your business are exactly where you wanted to be this time last year? How many of you are exactly where you wanted to be in January when you planned the year? Some of you hopefully have met those goals and gone beyond, and that's amazing. But I have a feeling it didn't look exactly like you expected it to look. There were probably some things that came up along the way that surprised you, didn't go exactly how you thought they would, right? This should have happened this way. I should have been at this point by now. I should have X number of clients paying X dollars per month, whatever the case may be, right? We have these expectations, and if we don't meet them, then we're distracted and it's hard to move forward. Or maybe it's an unmet expectation you've had on yourself. I should have done XYZ. And I'm going to beat myself up so much so that it's distracting me from getting back in the game and doing what I wanted to do in the first place. When you're so focused on what you wish would have happened, or you wish you had done, or you feel that you should have done, again, you are robbing yourself of the energy that you could instead place into going after those things, right? Into shifting, into being flexible so that you can do the things you set out to do. But when we focus on those shoulds, my goodness, is it a distraction from going after those big dreams? Okay, so I've given you the distractions. So what do we do about that? Now that we know the distractions, how do you, quote unquote, solve that, right? How do you keep from being distracted? I'm going to give you 4 things that can be and will be, if you include them, the antidote to these distractions. Number 1 is to solve the right problem. Here's what I mean by that. The problem here is not that you're distracted, believe it or not, because distractions will come on a regular basis. These are some of the common ones that I see with coaching clients that I have seen over the years in my own business as well. And so I want to remind you that you're not failing if these distractions have been getting in your way. And the goal isn't necessarily to conquer everything at once so you can never be distracted again. That's not the problem we're trying to solve, okay? What I want you to see is identifying your distractions, coming up with strategies to manage them and to, yes, conquer them, but realize that some of them will come up in different ways and flavors over time. For example, you may figure out how to conquer imposter syndrome for what you're building now. And then next year, you decide to expand or grow in a different way, and it may start to look different. But if you can acknowledge it right now as a distraction, find the strategies for how you're going to conquer that. And then when it comes up again, you're prepared, you're ready, you can identify it, and then you know how you're going to take care of that. Now, for help with that, if you will listen to episode 184, the episode just before this one, I'm going to walk you through a specific strategy to help you conquer some of those thoughts that may be hindering your growth, that are dealing specifically with imposter syndrome, or frankly, any of the thoughts that you may address today. Episode 184 is specific to address your thinking and some strategies behind how you can flip that switch and transform it. So go back and listen after this episode. Go listen to episode 184 if you have not yet. You can get there directly by just going to stormlily.com/184 or find it in your podcast player. Okay, so number one, the antidote is solve the right problem. And the problem here is not to say address all these distractions at one time and think you're never going to have them again. Find the specific one you're dealing with, find the strategies to deal with that, and then you'll be prepared for when it comes up a different time. Okay, number two, the next antidote to dealing with these distractions is to be connected to your why. Now, for some of you, that's going to be reconnect to your why. And for some of you, that's going to be actually taking the time to sit down and identify the true why behind what you do. Not just the why behind like the problem that you solve. While that is important, I'm talking about being very clear as the business owner, as the entrepreneur who's putting in the work, who's wearing multiple hats. Why do you do what you do? What's the heart behind your business? When you are very connected to your why, you're going to be aligned instead of distracted. You're going to be able to stay in your lane better because your why is not the same as anyone else's. It's very much personal. Your gifting, your calling, your why, all of those things are specific to you. And so if you will stay connected with that and keep it close by, it will enable you to keep those blinders on so that you can stay focused and be less prone to these distractions. For example, with the shiny object syndrome, if you know clearly what your why is, then you can also more easily identify the type of content you should be creating and where to post it, where you're going to connect with those right people because you're very clear on that. Okay, so stay connected to your why. That's going to help you, give you that filter as you're making decisions. And as you begin to feel distracted, you can always go back to that starting point. All right, the third antidote to being distracted, believe it or not, this one might surprise you a bit, is to practice gratitude. Now, here is why. Because if you look back at those distractions, you're going to see that one of the things that's a common thread is a feeling of comparison. And if instead, when those feelings come up and those distractions start to come up, if you stop and say, this is what I'm grateful for in my business, it will actually help to pull that back, and it'll help to shine a light on the things that you're doing great, the things that you can be grateful for in your business. And that's going to actually help you. Believe it or not, I promise you, it may seem a little bit surprising that that's one of the antidotes. But as you practice gratitude, as you name the things in your business that you are grateful for, it will actually build contentment with where you are and with what you have. And again, remember, I'm not saying don't chase those big dreams because my heart is to help you do that, but to do it while still having a heart of gratitude for where you are right now. Okay, so practicing gratitude is a big antidote for these distractions. Now, as a part of that, I would challenge you to every day name 3 things you're grateful for. maybe 5 things. Like pick the number that feels good to you. For some of you, it may be 1. I have actually seen gratitude journals that is like literally just name 1 thing each day. But the key here is to be intentional and cultivate a habit of gratitude. I promise you, it will change more than you can imagine if you begin to do that. All right, friends, the final antidote to these distractions is to get support. Do not think that you can do all of these things alone and do it well and to the best of your ability. To grow and do what you want to do as an equestrian entrepreneur, going it alone is not the solution. Now, yes, I told you I provide coaching for equestrian entrepreneurs. So absolutely, I'm going to tell you I'm an advocate of that. I would be crazy not to. And I've had coaching experiences myself that pushed me to the next level of growth that I was looking for in my business, 100%. I have a podcast guest coming on in a few weeks, and you will hear her talk about. She is not my coach, she's not my client, but she will talk about how every stage of business that she wanted to shift and do something new and different and grow, she had a coach helping her along the way, because you can't expect yourself to know and do everything. But I will also say, and I will also say, there is a place for having a mentorship, someone who's just slightly ahead of you, or a business owner that you admire, that you take to coffee and say, I just want to learn from you. There's also a place for having a business friend who has similar goals and aspirations, and you can encourage each other on. There's a place for all of those things. There's a place for community, right? I'm working right now in a peer-led mastermind program that I created this year. I do anticipate duplicating it and offering it in the future, but this year it was just invite-only experience. I wanted to see what it was like in the community. The encouragement, the learning that we're experiencing is wonderful. So there are many ways that you can do this, but the point here is do not do it alone, okay? Get somebody who can see those blind spots that you trust, give them permission to name it, bring it to light, and then invite them to help you work through those things and get back on track. Now, some of those things are a little bit more practical and tactical and coach-minded, of course, but each of those elements are things that you can get support in to help you when you are feeling distracted by shiny objects and you're just literally not sure which one to pick. That's where having that coach or a mentor can come alongside you and help give you that clarity, or a business friend, right? When you're deciding who to talk to, whether it's a coach or not, I want you to consider a few things, okay? Consider their experience, their business experience. What have they walked through? What have they built? What's their background? Consider your weaknesses. What are the areas that you feel like you're struggling in that you could use some expertise? Find that, okay? And pay attention to their knowledge of the equine industry. Now, absolutely, can you go outside of the equine industry to get help and support? Yes, you can. And I will tell you, as you already know, there is also something unique and different about working with someone who specializes in working inside of the equine industry. There's a different understanding when they understand the horse world, when you don't have to explain different terms or different events or different tech, or, they can give you examples of people in the industry that are doing something similar that you can learn from. There is just something unique about working inside of our equine industry, because that perspective is sometimes something that's only understood by someone inside the industry. Okay. So I'm not saying you should have a hard and fast rule, but I will tell you that many of my clients that start working with me in coaching, one of the things they say that was the difference maker for them was my understanding of their business and how it relates to the equine industry, and my understanding of their audience, because I've studied so many different audiences inside of the equine industry, so many different horse owners, so many different breeds and associations that exist, and I've been a part of so many different pieces. Then that's a unique perspective that I can understand. So it's not a hard and fast rule, but I would tell you it's something to consider as you are looking at getting the support you need and removing these distractions so that you can grow your business in the way that meets your version of success. And that truly is my heart for you as a listener, as a fellow entrepreneur, and as someone who's serving the equine industry. I love to see you all succeeding. So I will tell you that Take the Reins, my one-on-one coaching program, is currently open in applications. So as the time of this is publishing, it is late 2025, August 2025 to be specific. So mid, I guess you could say. And I am booking clients right now that are starting in September. And I have a small slot of 8. I've just filled one. So as the time of this publishing, we have 7 slots left for coaching clients that want to get in the door. It is a 6-month one-on-one coaching program that is personalized to you to help you ditch the marketing overwhelm, overcome the roadblocks holding you back, and truly grow an equine business that meets your version of success. So if that is something that piques your interest, I would invite you to check it out. You can go to stormlily.com/reins and get all of the information about the program, what's included, who it's for, and there's an application there. From that, you and I will get on a Zoom call. And before you even sign up for the program, we will chat and make sure it's a good fit for you. And so that you can be confident this is a place you want to be, the coaching program for you that's going to help you get to that next level in your equine business and get you growing, measuring the right things, communicating the right message that's going to help you do more of what you love to do. So again, check out stormlily.com/reins for all of that information. Of course, I'll have that link in the show notes as well. But either way, friends, what I do want you to do, if it's a fit for you or might even be a fit for you, check out Take the Reins and pay attention to these distractions. I want you to right now identify the one that is holding you back, the one that's been getting in your way. And then I want you to do some homework to help conquer that. And then let me know. I want to hear about it. Or if you're like, hey, Denise, what resources do you know about that can help me with these specific distraction that I'm dealing with right now? Send me a message. Find me on Instagram or Facebook or send me an email, denise@stormlily.com. I would love to be able to help you out, to resource you and encourage you, and ultimately to cheer you on, of course, right? So do that. And I have one last request or one last thing for you, okay? One last call to action. And that is to share this with a friend. If you're listening to this and you're thinking, this is so similar to conversations I've been having with some of my business friends, to fellow business owners at the barn that I'm meeting with, share this podcast episode. The more people you can share this with, the more we can serve the equine industry and help equine businesses to grow and to thrive and to do it in a way that meets their version of success. So take a snapshot, take a screenshot of your screen, share it on Instagram, tag me, link to the podcast, let others know that this is a helpful resource available to them. As you saw, this is episode 185, crazily enough. So that means there's 184 other episodes that are here and available to help you and help your equine business friends. So do them a favor and share it with them so they can get equipped and resourced in marketing their equine business. All right, friends, I'm so grateful you have joined me here. I'm so grateful for the way you are serving the equine industry. And I pray blessings on you and your business and continue to meet me here next week as we keep diving in. And I keep bringing you new guests and friends that you can learn from inside of the equine industry. Have an amazing day.